There are no such things as limits or obstacles, only opportunities. Step into the greatest version of yourself because what you do matters. Shift your narrative. You're listening to Opportunity Makers, where entrepreneurs come to take their purpose-driven business to the next level. Here's your host, Cyndi Padilla.
Hey, world changer. So glad to see you here. Welcome back to the podcast. And, we're here to help you navigate the journey through trying times to opportunity wherever it exists, and finding the right things that show up for you at the right time, helping you make powerful decisions that lead to incredible outcomes as you are climbing the mountain and leading people to climb their mountain, right? So that you can get there, plant your flag, and bring as many people with you as possible, and then search for that next summit to eclipse. And so we're bringing you people who have had all these opportunities. We're talking to people who are excelling, playing a big game. And it's not about the prowess of all the money they've made or the exits that they've had. What it does is it's a benchmark. It's a milestone. All of our clients and colleagues and people that we've worked with who have exited and who are playing 8, 9, 10-figure games, they just think differently. They make decisions differently. They move through the world at a different rate of speed, and they respond to trials and struggles differently. And the things that are struggles and triumphs or trials for many people may not be for them. I've experienced that. The more revenue we've made, the more, as we're eclipsed, $300 million in sales for people that we work with, and we've just come across things that have forced us to elevate as humans, as decision makers, as thinkers, as leaders. And so we just approach decision making differently. And just like you, in your area of genius, you are thinking about it in ways that nobody else is. And so I'm bringing you people who are innovators, who have moved through trying times, who have had big challenges, big fails, and big opportunities. And so it's just helping you really see what's coming, what's inside there. And as I'm going to share this episode with you here with Tammy Lane, a friend of mine, a colleague that we've known for close to a decade. And she's a rock star, great at what she does. And you're gonna, notice some really simple, elegant things. And this is starting to be a theme that I'm noticing in these conversations as well, is while there's so much wisdom, so much rich information that is dripping from these conversations, some of the greatest wisdom and insight are the simplest things, simplest statements. And, one thing we're talking about, pay attention and take notes on, is that, we're talking about what's the biggest secret. And one of her key go-tos is, I only teach what I know. I only teach what I've done. I'm not here to teach you what everybody else does. I'm here to teach you what I know works because I do it every day. Right. And big, huge statement that I love, I'm going to grab and make it a quote card actually, is mastering the difference, understanding the difference between a fluctuation and a trend. And too many times when things go wrong on a short scale, we react thinking it's a trend, and it could just be a fluctuation. It's just a blip. It's just something that happened, and so we start building a way to make sure it never happens again, instead of just waiting to see where it's going to ride. Right. So I want you to keep that in mind. I remember having a conversation with Dan Sullivan, the coach years ago, and heard him. He was talking about when the bigger you get in business, the less you react to fire. When you're small, there's a fire, you fire, put it out, and fire extinguishers and whatever else, and you ruin everything else. When you're big enough, you recognize that fire is it's going to burn out at some point. It's only going to have damage to a certain area. And you start reacting and going, that's an interesting shade of orange. Right. And that's a different way to approach a fire versus, oh my God, we got to put the fire out. Right. Because those are two different problem solving mechanisms, and that are going to lead to extremely different outcomes. Right. So make sure you know the difference between a blip, right, a fluctuation versus a trend. So dive in. Listen, it's a short conversation, but it really is really strong and going to give you some really great insights to thinking through some things here and problem solving and finding the right opportunities as you navigate the marketplace. Enjoy the episode, and I look forward to hearing from you. Go make the cash register ring. Tammy, now that, let's just roll into the conversation. And why don't you, in your own words, who are you? Who's Tammy Lane?
Well, I'm a mom first. So, I started my first business before, I had a family or anything. So, but I've always been super passionate about business, but things really shifted after having a family. And I got very clear on what my boundaries were and how many hours I wanted to work. And I wanted to demonstrate also for the three girls that you can do what you love and do it well and make really good money at it. So that shift of priorities happened. My youngest is 11. So.
Got it. Yeah, I remember that a long time ago. Our youngest is now 31. So I think that just means we're getting older.
All right.
So, that's awesome. And I love that you have that kind of balance. I love making money. And I love my freedom, right? I mean, Cyndi
Yes.
and I like to be able to go to play golf, travel, we moved back to California to be around grandkids. We have our newest granddaughter last week. So we want the freedom to be able to spend the time with them, do whatever we want, whenever we want with them. So it's important, but you have to make money in order to make that happen. You have to have a lifestyle that you have to have something that gives you the freedom.
Right.
And, part of the theme of this conversation is what we're dealing with in the marketplace right now. We'll talk more about, funnel cures, and ads and all of that stuff. That's the boring stuff, the least important stuff about you. But like what's going on in the marketplace right now and in the economy and what things do entrepreneurs need to be thinking about. And so, my first question for you around that is, what are the things that you see people missing as opportunities all around?
So I mean, as an entrepreneur myself, like I feel like we just as a population tend to get distracted into new things really easily. And so if I could say my biggest downfall in my timeline to being successful, it would definitely be that. And also I think downplaying the importance of having an offer that is extremely hot, that people are easily going to say yes to, because and everything else is going to be hard in your business, your funnel, your ads, your everything, if your offer isn't dialed in. So I think, with the economy and things going, that just is going to become even more important over the next months.
Yeah. Those are all great words. What the hell does that mean? How do you stop the distraction? How do you stop chasing? Because everybody's looking for a great idea. And so everything looks like a good idea until it's taken you way over here.
Right. I guess I put myself on a diet when it came to certainly doing more courses or anything like that. And I just decided that I was going to fully implement what I was working on before I'd allow myself. And I have a team now, and so they kind of hold me accountable as well. They're like, Tammy, like you said, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
Accountability partner can do the same thing.
Right. So with people, I mean, you and I have been blessed to have some fantastic clients. And, we've got a great peer group of people who are, the thing I love about what we do is we're always attached to the people who are going to make the change when changes happen. Right. Because that's our clients. They're all innovators and pioneers and risk takers and all of that. So there's a sense of comfort in what we do. But for people who don't have that, they're the juice for their community. What you see is this, I would say like the best way, but how do you stay relevant, sharp, and ahead of the pack so that people are clear that you are helping to pave the way and they can trust following you?
I guess the biggest thing for me is I only teach things that I actually do and have tried. And that really, like, I've been doing this for 15 years now. So I may have gotten in a little bit of I was teaching things that I've been teaching for a long time, but when COVID happened, really the whole online market shifted entirely. So I had to redo all my stuff too. So retesting, reevaluating, figuring out what was working and what wasn't. So I feel like that process, like what it brought back for me is that process is so important on an ongoing basis. If I'm going to teach my clients, that I don't just want to be teaching them what I've always done, because the market does shift.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. We're in the same boat. We've retooled everything, and as the saying goes, we're drinking our own Kool-Aid and eating our own dog food and all of whatever metaphors you want to put in it, just to make sure that everything we're teaching is accurate and everything we're doing actually works.
Yep.
Right. So one more thing I want to talk about before we talk on a little bit more of the tactics is, as somebody who has had an opportunity to sell a business, exit an opportunity, typically what I find is when we're acquiring companies or in that conversation, we just see things a little different than the average entrepreneur. And so it opens up eyes to things, and we don't freak out about certain things. And like right now in the marketplace, it's easy to freak out because of all the fear that the media is throwing at you. Everybody's doubtful and anxious and concerned. How do you see approaching an economy like this? Because for me, it's different too. I get excited in opportunities like this because opportunities open up. And, what's your approach to a challenging time that maybe wasn't before?
Yeah, I feel like my whole first 13 years in business, things were fairly stable. Like there wasn't a huge shifts in things. So, the COVID marketplace really made me see things differently as well, in terms of the things you've always done aren't always going to work. And so I'm just bringing that new attitude into moving into, whatever's coming this next year. And honestly, the first year of COVID was one of my best years ever in business because we run ads and we're seeing the tests happen really quickly. It allows us to adjust our marketing fairly quickly, like compared with an average person. And so as we were doing that, we saw huge wins. Like I had my biggest event of all time, my first $1 million weekend, like all of those things happened because we were able to shift. And so I'm just conscious of that now. I do believe things are going to be shifting in the upcoming year. And so just making sure I'm constantly dialed in on the performance of things, because that allows a gauge for me of where the market's headed.
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit more about that from an ads perspective, a funnels perspective. Really good point that you made, right? Most people are not doing enough volume and they're too far downstream by the time they start making changes. They're dealing much more with lagging indicators versus leading at that point.
Yeah.
When you do high volume with ads, you get faster feedback, more feedback, so you can make change quick.
Yeah.
Right. So what is your take on that, or your strategy to ensure that happens?
I mean, we're in a really amazing place that I'm not only running my own ads, but we're running ads for, hundreds of clients, whether we do done with you. So we're seeing the results still every week, or we do done for you as well. And so my knowledge of what's happening in the market happens very quick, because it's not just my money on the line with the ads, it's the clients. And so the hard part is understanding Facebook fluctuates all the time. So we had a client last week. She had her best week ever, 28 grand last week. But the week before she was like, Tammy, I'm only at 7 grand this week. Like, what is going on? And Facebook just fluctuates, right? So we're looking at an average there. So the key is knowing when it's a fluctuation and when it's a trend. And so the benefit for us is getting to see it across the client. So when that client was down, I went out and looked at the data from the other clients, and a lot of the other clients had a down week that week as well, as Facebook shifts algorithms and stuff. And then last week when she had her best week ever, also clients are also seeing that, and I am as well. And so just knowing whether it's a fluctuation or a trend, because you want to react quickly if it's a trend, but you don't want to panic if it's a fluctuation.
Yeah, man, that's really important. We talk about, like, when we start working with a client and we're running sales conversations for people, you can be 12 or 17 conversations in, and you're seeing some massive fluctuations and things. And it's so easy to say, well, we got to change this. And we make a benchmark standard that we don't change anything until we've had 100 conversations, right? Because then at least we have a control group of enough to say, well, this is a trend that we're seeing that makes sense. But 4 conversations or 11 or, 22 would have, with 3 different responses, that's not a trend. You can't make any intelligent decision around that.
Right.
So, so you're, Facebook faucet, you've been doing that for a long time, ever since I've known you before. And then you recently, in the last couple of years, started your funnel cures business.
Yes.
And so tell a little bit about what funnel cures is, but then I really want to unpack for the audience, how does funnel cures help support and enhance your Facebook business, your ad business?
Yeah, so we launched just over a year ago now, Funnel Cures. And honestly, I really did it we coach clients in getting their funnels set up. I really struggled with coaching them on multiple platforms just because it's such a time investment on their part, and they would be months. So we ended up diving into what the solutions could be that we could do it for them a lot quicker, and where it wasn't a $10,000 or $20,000 price tag attached with doing their funnel. And then on the other side of that, when the new iOS 14, it's a little old now, iOS 14 update came out, and the tracking ability for Google ads and Facebook ads was significantly compromised, which means clients were seeing about a 30% decline in their ad performance. And so I reached out to a few companies. They were going to charge 30 grand a year plus 10% of profits on an ongoing basis just to do the tracking piece. And I was like, wow, I have to sell a lot of things to make up for that. And so we researched getting into a new what the solution could be. So those two things combined, we ended up doing our Funnel Cure software. So we do have a Facebook and Google API where we can send information outside of the iOS device back to Facebook on our system, so that Facebook knows who's buying, knows who's opting in, and all those things. And we did see that 30% uptake again, even sometimes more than that, because the tracking's even better than it was before the iOS update. And so when Facebook knows who's buying from you, they want you to make more sales because you're going to spend more money. They will go out and find more of those people. When they don't know who's buying from you because the data is not being sent, then it gets really difficult in ad performance. You're spending more money to get in front of people who won't buy.
Right. Yeah. Here's what I'm hearing for you guys listening on this. She has a problem with we all had a problem with the iOS change, and everybody was running for new platforms and new ideas. And instead of panicking and reacting, Tammy started looking for the right solutions, started thinking through what are the problems, how can her brilliance, her experience, what is her experience giving her as a solution, as an idea, and then who can help implement and execute on that solution and start finding the results. And then short term, you take a dip and a hit, but then you solve it and then you overcome it. Right. And now you can also then provide that for your clients. And it's, one thing we want to be talking about, and a lot you'll notice, I mean, we're with this interview with Tammy, we're early into the new stages of our new podcast, but the trends you're starting to see is looking for solutions and not looking for protection, right? Most people are backing up, trying to run for cover, find protection. And the people who are winning are the ones who are leaning in and finding solutions and then bringing those solutions to their marketplace.
And I that just sums it up so perfectly, Jim, because I do feel like when the market is shifting, there's so much opportunity opens up for you. And like, if you can leap into that opportunity when everybody else is running and covering, certainly a very lucrative time to be moving forward.
Awesome. So who's the person who should be reaching out and talking to you about funnel support and ad support? What is your criteria? Who do you help the most?
So we have two different programs on both sides, funnels and ads. One is for people who don't have a team. want their first funnel or their first working funnel set up, we have a very inexpensive program where we build it for them. And we even have one where we do the copy for them, all included in that. So our clients literally are having a fully functioning funnel to share, ready to share within 3 weeks of starting in that. And then we have training programs on the ad side for that. And on our agency side, we build custom done for you conversion funnels and combine them with Facebook and Instagram ads.
That's powerful. And like I said, I met Tammy, gosh, I think 8 years ago or so at an event, and she was already doing this for several years before that. And it's cool because just like us, the longer we do this, we're the only people who've done it this long, right? So,
right.
And so everybody else can be jumping on and people learn new things. I'm not discounting anybody who is just starting what they're doing, but there's a lot to be said for someone who's experienced a decade worth of challenge and solution and outcomes that can, you've forgotten things that most people will never even learn. And you have, what we call efficiencies of infrastructure. You have just solved for this in ways that most people haven't, because they just have never come across the volume and the scale of opportunity that you have. So, reach out and make sure you have a connection with her and find out, is there something that you have that can get people started to figuring out what's the right funnel solution for them? You have a resource that we can send them to?
Yeah, so we have a free, it's an evaluation on what type of funnel is going to be best for you. So yeah, I can definitely provide that link, Jim. They can get started there, and after we help them figure out what funnel is going to be best for them, we have a guide that shows them how they can get started.
Awesome. So that will be in the show notes. Guys, will be there as well as all contact information, ways to be able to reach Tammy. And please do reach out. You need to talk to her. I mean, right now, my concern for you is that you're too busy trying to chase a lot of solutions. And I know the thing I tell everybody all the time is start unsubscribing to everybody's stuff. Please do. But get crystal clear if this is what you need. If you are absolutely needing to master a path from audiences who don't know you to making sure that they know you, and the right people getting ready to solve. If that's the problem you are needing, then have a conversation. It costs you nothing to talk to her or team. Could cost you everything and another year of frustration if you don't.
Right.
So please do, and make sure you tell her that we sent you, and we're really excited to see that. And we're working with her as well, so that when you're in our world, in our mastermind community, you have access to Tammy's solutions as well. So they're creating specific funnels for our clients, because we're always helping people fill their events and do predictable things that lend itself to being able to replicate a process and a funnel well.
And I will just say, Jim, like the crew that you've assembled on your team across so many diverse areas is like world class. Like if the listeners are coming into your world, like the team that Jim has on the back end, I've never seen such an amazingly qualified group of people who can help you in every area of your business. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's actually Cyndi and I say it a lot, but I mean it. And the thing I do better than anything else is attract amazing people into my world. That's my best skill set, better than any piece of knowledge I can ever provide. I know I can surround you with amazing humans and amazing people in all areas. So I love that affirmation. So one last thought here before we wrap up. And what do you think right now is it's a balancing act, because we don't want people running around chasing squirrels and shiny objects. However, we don't want people to miss out on opportunity. So what is your biggest input for people who are sitting right now trying to figure out, how do I go on offense instead of defense right now? And how do I do it with minimal risk to me?
I definitely think like a funnel is a foundational piece. If you don't already have something that's consistently at least bringing you in leads, if not sales as well, of course, but we're really seeing a shift into community-based marketing. So if you're not growing your list for people to get to know you so that you can make sales to that community, you're really, I feel like, going to struggle in the next 12 months to have consistent sales. And so the time to start building that list, and that part is so easy to get set up that you can literally be started in a couple weeks of bringing in that community. I feel like you can't really go wrong with that. It's inexpensive and easy to get started on that.
Yes, agree. I love that. And yeah, it's all gonna be about relationships. I think that old saying, the power of your net worth is going to equal your network, or vice versa, however it's supposed to be said. I think it's never been more true than it is now. And as we move forward, you're going to be able to, the people you surround yourself with are going to be the level of your ability to tread water or swim ahead is going to be based on who you're holding on to. So make sure you're holding on to the right people. You got us, and now you got Tammy and her crew and her amazing team and all of her experience. Reach out. I want you to connect with people. We're not bringing them here just to share some cool nuggets with you. We're bringing people to you that we trust, that we know, that we believe in, and that we want you to be able to have access to. So Tammy Lane, Funnel Cures, and Facebook Ad Faucet, right? Is it Facebook Faucet?
Facebook Faucet.
Yeah. So, and she's not just a pretty face, y'all. She's got a lot of wisdom under that dome. So make sure.
And a few wrinkles to show for it.
All right. Tammy, thank you so much for being here, and always so great to be able to spend some time with you, and appreciate you sharing your wisdom and insights with people here in the podcast. And we'll look forward to seeing you more.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Opportunity Makers. Head on over to gaintheedgenow.com to connect with Jim and his team. And remember, there's no such thing as limits or obstacles, only opportunities.